Hello, my name is Brian. I work with Santa Fe Grape Distributors on 3500 South Racine in Chicago, Illinois. And today I'm going to show you how to make wine out of our Regina juice. First, I'm going to show you a little bit of the equipment that you're going to need. You're going to need a sanitizing solution, which you could use either potassium metabisulfite, or my favorite is Star San. I've already diluted this into a 5-gallon bucket. Some other things you're going to need are a drilled rubber stopper, an airlock, which looks like one of these, and a 5-gallon glass carboy. Alright, so here we're going to go. We're going to get started. First things first, remember when you're playing with glass, always be safe. These things do break, and don't ever put them under pressure. If they could shatter, they could really cut you up bad. Second, whenever you're making anything homemade, wine, beer, you want to make sure that cleanliness is first. Any infected batches you're going to do strictly from not using this right kind of sanitizing your equipment. Third, don't overthink it. I know there's a lot of people out there, wine snobs, whatever. Remember, keep it simple, stupid. So what we did first is we took our glass carboy and we rinsed it under hot, lukewarm water to make sure we got any dust out. Now we need to sanitize it. To do that, we're going to take my already diluted Star San in a 5-gallon bucket. We're going to sanitize our funnel, dip it in real quick. Now, one of the questions people always ask me, is it okay that there's going to be bubbles left in there? It's fine. This is a food grade sanitizer. The bubbles are not going to hurt the product. Put it in there, make it nice and secure. And I'm going to use a little pot to help get some sanitizer in there without spilling it all over the place. Now, what I really like about Star San is it sanitizes almost instantly. Unlike potassium metabisulfite, which you have to let come in contact with the surface for at least 10 minutes, all I have to do here is swish it around a little bit and we should be all good. So we'll pop my funnel back into the sanitizing solution. Be very careful, lift it up, cover the top, and give it a couple good shakes. Making sure that the sanitizing solution covered every square inch inside of the bottle. I'm going to pour it back out. And as you can see, there's going to be some bubbles left in there. Like I said, completely normal. Do not worry about that. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take our already sanitized glass carboy, and we're going to take the most important ingredient, obviously, our Valdepina Regina juice. Fresh, unpasteurized, straight from California. I put a little bit of our sanitizing solution in the spray bottle, for cleanliness and simplicity. We'll spray the opening a couple times, make sure there's no infections in there. And we're going to spray the top of this as well, just to be safe. Next, I'm going to pop this open and look at this beautiful California grape juice. Oh, it smells great. From here on, it's pretty simple. We're going to go back, grab our funnel. I just spilled all over the place. Take our little pot, sanitize it once more, and start slowly adding the Valdepina juice, trying it not to get all over the place. One of the things is we keep this refrigerated so it doesn't start to ferment. Because it's cold, a lot of the yeast is going to be sitting at the bottom of the barrel. The yeast is obviously the most important ingredient in making wine because it's what actually eats the sugar and converts it into alcohol. We're going to a couple spoonfuls in here. Okay, so we got a couple spoonfuls in there just so that it's not overflowing at the top. And for the sake of making it easier to transfer, what I did is I put the glass carboy inside of a milk crate. If you don't have milk crates, you can go out and buy holders for these, but I get these for $2-3. It's not really that big of a deal. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our juice and we're gonna slowly start pouring it in here. Now, as I said before, there's a bunch of sediment and yeast in the bottom of this bucket. So every now and then you want to stop and give it a good mix at the bottom. Just like this, back and forth, back and forth. Stir it up again. Make sure we get all that yeast and all the tannins at the bottom. And go again. Alright, we're going to let that rest for a little bit so it doesn't overflow. One of the things you're going to notice, if you go to other YouTube channels, people are going to tell you that you need to add yeast. It's completely optional. Since the juice that we get is unpasteurized, it already has yeast added. If you wanted to, you can go pick some up from Lavalin or Red Star, but it's really not needed. It takes about a year to let this fully ferment. I let mine sit for 2 years. If you added an outside yeast source, you could probably get it to go a little bit faster, but it is going to alter the flavor. Alright, now that we let the bubbles die down a little bit, I want to show you the inside of the bucket. If you look at the back, you can see those clumps. That's where all the skin, dead yeast, or active yeast cells are, and other sediment. That's where you get the tannins and the flavor. Now we don't want to fill this thing all the way up to the top because when it really starts fermenting, it'll explode through. So we're going to top it off a little bit more and let it come to just about here, leaving enough space for it to actively ferment and not blow out the top. Shake it up again. And boom, we're going to let it sit just like that. That's about all the manual labor you're going to need to do. So what I do is, because as I said, it is going to ferment and it's going to explode through the top, I like to take a coffee filter, spray it with my sanitizing solution, Star San, and I put it over the top, and then secure it with either a rubber band or whatever you got. This way, when the juice does start to fully ferment, it can overflow without adding any pressure, but it keeps any bugs from coming out. A lot of the problem is when you make homemade wine or beer, you get fruit flies. The way to stop this is you gotta just be as clean as possible, and any juice that spills, clean it up right away. Alright guys, and that's pretty much it for today. I'm gonna give you a couple final notes before we wrap this up. So these buckets come in 5.3 gallons, it's 20 liters, whereas the carboys are exactly 5 gallons. So you're going to have a little bit left over. What I do is first I let it fully ferment in the carboy, and then after it's done, I will top it off, leaving about 1 inch to 2 inches on top of space. If you wanted to do, what I also do is I get one of these. It's a 1 gallon smaller glass carboy, and any excess I'm going to pour into there, put a rubber stopper on top with an airlock. That way, next year when we rack, which I'm about to show you how that works, there's going to be some volume that's been removed, and you can top it off to minimize the amount of oxygen that's in the glass carboy. Now I just mentioned racking. Essentially what happens is after it's done fermenting or in the middle of fermenting, all the skin and dead yeast is going to fall to the bottom of this, leaving a layer of sediment. To get rid of that, what we do is you can go buy this. It's called an auto siphon. If you can't get one of these, you can go out to your hardware store and get some vinyl tubing and attach it to a dowel rod. Sanitize that, stick it in the carboy, leaving about 1.5 inches of space from the bottom so it doesn't suck up all that sediment. You're going to siphon it into the bucket or into another carboy if you have one, and that will keep the sediment and the skin from the other one, making your wine much clearer and taste better when you're ready to bottle. So now that we covered racking, before we get to that, what we need to do is talk about airlocks. Airlocks come pretty much in two different styles. You have the single piece, which are a little bit cheaper, but I like them because you don't have to worry about the liquid inside evaporating. It works like a ute pipe in a toilet. These are both filled up with water. It lets the CO2 out, but doesn't let oxygen back in. You can also buy one of these, which are better because they're easier to reuse. They come in 3 pieces. Only problem being is that they evaporate. So if you're not constantly checking your wine and it becomes dry on the inside, it might ruin your batch. So preference is, if you're going to spend a long time away from your wine, use these. If it's going to be someplace in your house where you can check on it once every couple weeks, use this. So after these ferment and it blows out, we're going to top it off with a little bit of juice we have left in the bucket that I sanitized the top and put back on. You're going to put a rubber stopper in there, and then you're going to put the airlock on top and fill it with water. Let it sit for 6 months to a year, depending on how long you want to let it mass age. Siphon it using our siphoning tube. Let it sit for another 6 months to a year, and then we're going to bottle. Alright guys, and that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment at the bottom. Feel free to like and subscribe. And if it's in the middle of harvesting season, which is around the beginning of September to the beginning of October, please come visit us at 3500 South Racine Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. The name of the company is Santa Fe Grape Distributors. We've been there for about 100 years, and we look forward to seeing you. Cheers.